Hey guys, welcome to the Bookish Wonderland. It's your host, Ari here. And this week's writing update is a little more introspective than I thought it would be. I've been writing every single day, actually, since our last episode. I realized something within myself. So, as you all know, if you've been listening to the past couple of episodes, at the beginning of November, I've put myself on a month-long writing challenge where every day I was originally supposed to be writing a chapter a day of my Alice in Wonderland retelling until it was finished. But then after like the first week or two, I've noticed some things about myself when it comes to writing, and putting myself on this kind of deadline was putting a lot of pressure on me, considering that I haven't been writing as much as, I've been wanting to. And when I am in the mood to write or feel motivated to write, it's not for my novel, it's for something else. So I tweaked the writing challenge a bit to where I am at least just writing something every day, no matter what it is. It could be a scene from my story or a different story. It can be ideas for a new story. It could be a short story or poetry or whatever, as long as I'm writing every day. And it's not hard for me to do that, because I've noticed whenever I go out, mostly whenever I leave my house, if I go to a cafe, a restaurant, a bar, or just riding around in the car and listening to music, I can get inspired to write something. Usually what I get inspired to write has nothing to do with my novel. And that is something that I struggle with, and a lot of writers struggle with all the time, is learning how to ignore that, shiny new idea and stay devoted to the project that you've been working on for X amount of time. And I've noticed something mostly because of the weather change. The season is shifting. My seasonal depression is creeping up on me kind of heavily. And I've noticed that when I write in my journal, I'm mostly writing like quick snippets of poetry or scenes from like a very dark, gothic, romantic tale, or just personal thoughts and feelings. And the way that I write in my journal is not like traditional journaling. I'm not logging what happened every single day or writing my feelings every day. I just write what comes to my mind or comes out of my heart and just put it on paper, whether it's a new idea that I know I'm going to forget if I don't write it down, or if it's like something substantial or something that I need to work through and get it out. I've been inspired to write a couple of creative nonfiction pieces just with the whole holiday season approaching us, especially because everywhere I go, people really want to bust out their Christmas decor, and I'm one of them. Like, I am very much ready to take down all the fall decorations, for the winter season. But I also have noticed that it's bringing up a lot of feelings that I probably haven't dealt with or probably need to deal with, and this is my way of doing that, So I've been wanting to write about that. And then also, I've just been in that kind of sort of dark, heavy mood to where like I might want to pick up a gothic tale or something, or I just want to read something, with a dark atmosphere to it. This, like, wintertime is the perfect season for me to read all the like cozy, spooky books, not necessarily scary, spooky, but like cozy, eerie books, like, I know around this time last year is when I finally read the Belladonna series, and I really enjoyed it because it was like perfect for this mood, right? Where it's like, oh, it has like a gothic setting and or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like a fun story to read just for fun, just for kicks, just for entertainment. No other deep thought thinking or anything like that. I just wanted to be entertained, and I wanted to read something kind of sort of easy that wasn't going to put me through too much, but also still have that like fancy gothic Victorian-esque like aesthetic that I love. And so I've been writing some stories in that similar aspect. And it's not even full stories. It's literally like a scene here or there or an exchanging of dialogue. But the way I write it, it very much comes off in that way. And so I've been doing that, or writing like snippets of poetry here and there, writing everything but my novel. And I'm enjoying writing everything but my novel, because I think that's another reason why I'm not really working on it as much as I want to, is because it no longer became an enjoyment project to me. It became this is the project that's going to make me money, And I didn't want that. Like, don't get me wrong. I would love for my writing to make me money. Like, that is the dream. That is what I wanted my career to be once upon a time. And I still do. I want my career to be in writing. My day job is just that. It's a job that's paying the bills so I can try my best to survive in this world and the economic state that we're in. But I want my career to be in writing. I want to publish stories and, have people buy them and fall in love with my books and, things like that or whatever. But I forgot that writing has not always been that for me. Like, it hasn't always been a career for me. Back when I was like 6, 7 years old, if you asked little Ari what she wanted to be when she grew up, she was going to tell you, I want to be a fashion designer, or I want to be a stylist, or just like a designer. Like, I loved drawing clothes. I had like this intense passion for like, styles, and like this passion for fashion. Like, honestly, so much so that my grandmother and my grandma, they tried to teach me how to sew. I went to, fashion summer camps where I learned how to make my own patterns and, things like that or whatever. Make my own outfits, or take clothes and fix them myself, or tailor them myself, or, or whatever. And then, of course, as an adult, that didn't leave me. As a teenager, that didn't leave me, but definitely as an adult, didn't leave me, because I've gotten into embroidery again as a hobby. That's something I haven't done in a long time. It's like exercising the sewing skills a little bit with the embroidery and doing fun little designs and patterns and stuff. And when I was a teenager, I still loved it. Like, I was still drawing outfits and stuff. Sure, they evolved into more so I'm drawing costumes for theater, or like drawing out what my characters would wear for my story, because that was part of the whole that was the fun part of whole making your own world and creating your own fantasy worlds or whatever. What do they look like? What do they wear? What kind of foods do they have? And this and that. But that was originally my career goal. I only got into writing because that was the best outlet for me emotionally. Like, I kept a diary when I was young. Do I have any of my old diaries? I don't know. They're probably sitting in a box collecting dust in my dad's house or something. Like, in my childhood home, they're collecting dust, because I'm pretty sure my dad turned my old bedroom into a storage room at this point. I don't live there anymore. I don't really go over there as much anymore, so it is what it is. But I did keep a diary, and I would write just however I was feeling, or what happened that day, whether it was like a quick sentence or one word, or just a full on page account of that day. I was writing in my journal just emotionally to work through stuff. And it wasn't until I was in the 6th grade that I started kind of sort of still journal writing, but I would change the names of people that I was writing about, just so in the event someone found my notebook and they picked it up and read it, they wouldn't know who I was talking about, and doing that, I was changing the names kind of makes it a fun little story, like something someone just told me or something. I wonder if I could write my own story. And I did. I had this little red composition book. I occasionally drew in it, but I mostly was writing in it. And I was mostly writing this short story, my very first short story, about this girl who wanted to run away from home. I do not remember the details of the story. I do not even remember where this story is, if I even still have it. Again, it could be in my childhood home, collecting dust in a box with all my other stuff, or it could be destroyed or out in the world somewhere else. Someone else is holding it. I don't know. But I kept it in this red composition notebook. And I remember one of my teachers when I was in the 6th grade, They, constantly was checking in on me. I think they recognized some of the things that I was going through around that time and was checking in on me like, you good? You okay? Blah, blah, blah. If being around everybody is too much, feel free to hang back and hang out in my classroom, do homework or write or whatever if you need it, blah, blah, blah. And I often would. I would hang out in the classroom. I would sometimes do my homework, but I was mostly writing. I was mostly either reading or I was writing. And one day they asked me, what are you writing? And I was like, oh, it's just a story. It's not good. It's just something I'm doing or whatever. And they asked if they could read it. I was like, sure. And I gave it to them. They read it. They flipped through it and read it like it was an actual book. And I'm sitting there nervous like, oh God, are you really intensely reading what this child is writing? Like, I was still a child. And they gave me back my notebook and they were like, that's really good. I think you should keep writing. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, you should really keep writing. And I was like, okay. So I kept up with it. And then, of course, I got into poetry. I got into poetry from my English classes when we had to do poetry as like one of our like learning segments or whatever. And I started doing that, and I would share some of my poems with my classmates or with my friends. And, they would tell me it was good, and I'll be like, oh, thanks, blah, blah, blah. It's not much. But I kept up with it still, and then I was still drawing on top of that. And it wasn't until I was like maybe 14. I had to be either 14 or 15 when I finally decided, okay, I don't want to be a fashion designer anymore. I want to be a writer. And I think it was the words of encouragement. It was the appreciation from my friends who read it and be like, oh yeah, this is really good, Ari. We really love it, blah, 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 whatever. But like that was it for me. And I remember I was working on these stories like every single day, a scene here or there, writing in class when I should have been paying attention to the lectures, writing at home. Just, I went from like writing physically in a notebook to eventually getting my own laptop, because we had a home computer, but it was very old and it was mostly for homework and stuff anyway. So when I got my very first laptop and I was able to have like different writing programs on it and different, like I had Google Drive and everything. And I was like, oh, this is a place for me to store my work. And I started writing. Then I get to college and creative writing was my minor. And because creative writing was my minor, I was constantly in workshop classes and writing classes and this and that, to where writing became, an assignment, something that you were doing for a grade or whatever. But I still tried to keep the joy up and keep the like passion for it up, like the love for it up, and writing stuff that, just fed me, whether it was something that was cathartic and I was able to release, or just, or whatever. And some of my best work, I think, is stuff that was cathartic for me. Like, I remember writing a personal essay about a health issue I was going through, that I'm still going through. Like, it's gotten a little bit better now. But when I was in college, it was really, really bad and very, very much detrimental. And I was like so tired of constantly explaining my absence to people, especially professors. Because if you're in college or university, like you have those professors where attendance is a part of your grade. And here I am missing like a week of class a month. And they're like, why are you constantly like you're about to fail? And I'm like, but the reason why I can't come to class as much is because this is a medical thing. Like, I have doctor's notes. I have ER visit excuses. I have like emergency room visit logs and doctor's notes and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, so I got so tired of it that I wrote an essay about it and I turned it into one of my workshops. And I remember one of my professors, she was like, I feel very tempted to hug you. Like, she told me that. She was like, I feel very tempted to hug you. And like, I'm praying for you and this and that. And have you tried this? I heard about this. And she was like giving me like advice and things like that. Like, cause she really cared. And I had a couple of classmates be like, I didn't know that this was even a thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, now you do. So if I'm not here, that's why. And like that. Or even my first novel that I ever wrote, like full novel, the one that's collecting dust on my hard drive. Um, I actually wrote that story inspired by a lot of feelings and traumatic things that I was going through in my teenage years. And I wrote it mostly to like kind of sort of get it out and try to learn to move past it. You know, I'm in therapy and everything. So, you know, I'm trying to like work through it. But also at the same time, I was like, I really want to be a writer. I want to publish books and everything as a career. I got to see if I'm even able to do that. So I challenged myself to write a book within the month. And this was the story that I was like really interested in at the time. And it was helping me work on this story and get it out. So I went ahead and wrote it. It was over 60,000 words. And only a handful of people in my life have read it. And the handful of people in my life who've read it cover to cover were like, oh my gosh, this book made me cry. Like, this is not or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my gosh, how could you write something like this? And then I'm sitting there like, a lot of things that made you cry actually happened to me. And what my best friend, who was a witness to some of the things that I wrote about, she didn't know the full extent and details of it. So when she finally read it in the book, I think it hit her in a way like I didn't know. And that's another thing. Like when I write from that place, people will read it and be like, oh, wow, I didn't know. And I'm like, yeah, because I hid it very well at the time that it happened. Or I did my best to hide it or to mask and pretend everything was okay. And I'm reflecting on a lot of that now, and I'm like, dang, because even now I'm have this urge to like write about stuff that just like would hit my heart and break my heart. And I feel like I'm kind of in that mood simply because we're getting into the winter season. That's my seasonal depression season. It's not the best season for me. Like, I don't ever want to go anywhere. I don't ever want to do anything. You know, I just want to be curled up in my bed, comfy, cozy, maybe binge watch TV, maybe read a book, but just do nothing. Like, just leave me alone, leave me in the dark and let me be, like that type of thing. And like some of the things I've been writing about in my journal lean towards that. But also I've been writing the fun stories, like the ones that feed, you know, my happiness a little bit. Like, ooh, I love my dark gothic romantic tales, you know. So let me write my own and doing it for fun, because that's how it all started. Like, not only did I start writing as like a cathartic thing, after I discovered my talent for writing short stories, it became fun. And that's the feeling that I'm trying to get back to, because that's where the passion lies. Like, if I'm just writing just to write, it's not fun for me, then I don't want to do it. And while my novel is a fun novel, like when I am in the mood to write it, I am having a fun time writing it. But I think that I need to stop putting the pressure on myself to try and finish it for other people. I need to finish it for me. As much as I would love for it to be published one day, I can't write it with that being the forefront focus on my mind. Like, oh, I got to write this and finish it so it could get published and other people could read it. No. I have to remember I'm writing for myself first before I write for other people. And if you're a fellow writer, I'm pretty sure you have that same feeling or same thought too. Like, write for yourself first. Even if it's like your past self, your current self, or your future self, you kind of have to do it for you first. And I think a lot of the best books from even authors who I love and admire, their best books to me is the ones where they were like, oh, I wrote this for like little me. Back when I was in like the 10th grade or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I wrote it for her. Or I wrote it for me when I was in the 5th grade. So they can finally have something or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Or they work through something through writing that story. That's what I'm kind of sort of doing now. And I think it's been helpful, the fact that I changed my writing challenge to fit into that, to where now I'm writing for myself and trying to find joy in it. And I'm writing, I'm handwriting. I'm writing in my journal. My journal goes with me everywhere. I do not go anywhere without that notebook and a pen or a pencil in my bag. But also, I can't help but think about my novel in the back of my mind. And sometimes when I do, it's like I'm forcing myself to get into that mood or to motivate myself to sit down and work on it, when that's not what comes to me. When I'm in the mood to write, what comes to me is whatever comes to me, and I have to put it down on paper. In the season that I'm in right now, I think I just want to focus on writing for the enjoyment of writing for the enjoyment of storytelling, and to get everything out and on paper, whether anyone sees it or not. That's kind of where I am. That's the big writing update for the week. It's mostly just a little bit of reflection on my writing journey and trying to get back to the root of it and finding that joy in it. So that's what I've been doing. We'll see if anything gets finished or if it turns into anything. But I'm enjoying it, and I will talk to you guys next week with another writing update. Well, that's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. Be sure to fall back down the rabbit hole again next week for another episode of Aries Bookish Wonderland.